In this video, we're going to make the links structure in the response of a collection of addresses look like the link structure when we are requesting for one particular address like this. This is the response for a list of addresses, and we have links without the underscore, and additionally to rel and href we have many more details. And if I request one specific address by address ID, we get a completely different structure. We have links with the underscore, and we have self, and then under self object we have href and then a link. So let's make it consistent, and let's make this link structure look the same. And to do that, we will need to make our web service endpoints support a hypermedia format, like for example HAL. And HAL is a hypertext application language. It's one of the most widely used hypermedia formats, and it is very simple format that gives you a consistent and easy to use way to hyperlink between resources in your API. Let me bring up a page. Here we go. So this page, you can Google for it by HAL hypertext application language, or you can open it by going to stateless.co/HAL specification.html. So this language gives you a summary of what HAL is, and then the general description. It shows you the media type that you can use in your headers, and the HAL model, graphical representation of resource state, links, and the how embedded resources should be related to the resource state. And below we will have a HAL model, structure of a HAL document for an empty JSON, and when a resource is requested, and how the links should be structured. So you can have a look at this document and research a little more about HAL and how the structure of HAL documents look like. But in this video, I'm going to show you how to enable HAL for our RESTful web service endpoints, and we will make our links structure support this HAL document model format. Okay, so let's start by specifying the HAL media type. Here in the document, we came across application/HAL JSON. So for our application to be able to respond back with HAL plus JSON, we will need to go to our code, and for the web service endpoints that we want to support HAL, we will add one more media type under producers. So currently we have producers equals media type XML value, and then we have media type application JSON value. So here we can add application HAL from JSON, and we can also actually add application HAL plus XML. So let's add one for JSON now. We will add it to this web service endpoint, and we will add it right away to the next web service endpoint that we have, which returns a single address. While talking about media types, when HTTP request is sent and it would like to receive back a response containing JSON representation that supports HAL, the HTTP request should have an accept header which provides a value application HAL plus JSON, which we have just added in our Java code. Okay, so by providing application/HAL plus JSON, we are enabling our web service endpoint to respond to those HTTP requests that contain application HAL JSON in their accept header. So now when we are returning a collection of resources, we will need to use not a list, but a resources. So we are replacing the list with a resources object, which comes from Org Spring Framework Haters package. So let me import that. And we will also need to wrap the return value, which is currently of data type list address res. So we will need to wrap it into resources like this. New resources, and then we take addresses list res model. Okay, so this is to support collection of entities like address details that we have. And now I will save this, and when we are returning a single one, we can leave it as is, it will actually still work, but to be consistent, we can also wrap the addresses REST model into resource. And this time it's not resources, but a single resource like this. Let me import resource from Haters package as well. So it needs to go from org Spring Framework Haters. And I will also need to wrap the return value. So new resource. And now I will surround the returned object addresses REST model with the brackets. Okay, and this is it. Let's save this now. Let's stop our application and run it again and send a HTTP request. And this time we'll provide application HAL JSON as the accept content type and see what would be a response. Okay, my application started. Let's switch to a Postman. And here's our HTTP request for a single address record. So nothing should change here. Let's send this one. Here we go. We have same response, underscore links, self, href, and so on. So now let's request a collection of addresses. So I will delete address ID and send this HTTP request. And here we go. Have a look at the links structure now. We have underscore links and then self, href, and this is now following the HAL document model. So every link is now following that specification which we have seen on this page. Okay, so one little difference in this response is that notice that we have underscore embedded, and our entire collection list of addresses is now embedded into this JSON object. So this has happened because we are now following the HAL format. And when we follow the HAL format, if we embed the entire entity, the entire address resource into the response instead of providing a link to it, then it is an embedded resource. Otherwise, if we don't include the address details but simply provide a link to that address so that API can fetch the details of that address by following that link, then embedded will not be used. But because we are including the address details, we have this embedded, and this is not wrong, this is correct. The client application that supports HAL format will be able to handle this HTTP response if it receives it. Okay, so now we know how to enable our web service endpoints to support Haters and to have links to relevant resources included, and we know how to make our web service endpoints support links following the HAL hypertext application language format. And now when we have two web service endpoints updated to use Haters, you can follow this example and update other web service endpoints to support Haters as well.